Magic School Bus, Chapter Book. Electric Storm. Written by and Capisci. Lust Rations by Hope Gangloff. Introduction. Hi. My name is Keisha. I am one of the kids in Ms. Frizzle's class. Perhaps you have heard of Ms. Frizzle. Sometimes we just call her the Frizz. She is a terrific teacher, but strange. One of her favorite subjects is science, and she knows everything about it. She takes us on lots of field trips in the magic school business. Believe me, it's not called magic for nothing. We never know what's going to happen when we get on that bus. Ms. Frizzle likes to surprise us, but we can usually tell when she is planning a special lesson. We just look at what she's wearing. One day Ms. Frizzle came to school wearing this outfit. One look at those lightning bolts and I knew we were going to get a big charge out of our next field trip. Let me tell you what happened. Chapter 1. I sure wish it would rain, Phoebe said. You said it. The grass in the schoolyard could definitely use a drink, said Dorothy, and it looks so dry. Our whole class was outside. We were working on the chart we had been keeping as part of our study unit on weather. When we started a few weeks earlier, the grass was lush and green. Now it was so brown and crunchy, just looking at it made me thirsty. I like sunny weather, but this is too much of a good thing, said Ralphie. He took off his baseball cap and wiped his sweaty forehead. How long has it been since the last time it rained, Keisha? He asked me. I looked at our weather chart. 23 days and counting, I told him. There's not a cloud in the sky again today. Not to mention that it's hot. Wanda said, fanning her face. All the plants and trees are really in trouble. When are we going to get a little rain around here? Excellent question. Ms. Frizzle said. Today we happen to be going to the perfect place to get some answers. Is everyone ready for our trip to visit the meteorologist at the Channel 6 Weather Center? Yes, we all answered. All of us except Arnold, that is. I'm never ready for the Frizz's field trips, he groaned. Okay, maybe he had a point. Field trips with Miss Frizzle on the Magic School Bus do tend to be filled with surprises. We can never seem to get where we're going without some kind of crazy detour. What is weather? By Kiesna. Weather is the condition of the air at a particular time and place. The weather can be dry or humid, windy or calm, hot or cold, sunny or cloudy. But you know what? It looked like this trip might be different. We all piled into the bus, and 10 minutes later Ms. Frizzle pulled into the parking lot of the Channel 6 news station. We actually made it there without anything out of the ordinary happening. A normal field trip? Tim said as we got off the bus. Now that is unusual. The Channel 6 news station was a brick building that stood on top of a hill. 2 huge antennae stuck up from the roof. Not that we spent much time looking at the outside of the news station. We were more interested in checking out all the cool weather equipment inside. Let's breeze on in and see the professionals at work, said Carlos. Carlos, we all groaned. Follow me, future meteorologists, Ms. Frizzle said. We headed for the entrance. Before we could get inside, the door to the news station banged open. A young man stormed out waving a videocassette. A word from Arnold. A meteorologist is a scientist who studies and predicts the weather. How can they say I'm not qualified to be a weather forecaster? He asked. Me, Charlie Nimbus. I said we were going to have thunderstorms, and the studio executives just laughed at me. Thunderstorms? We all stared up at the cloudless blue sky. I wouldn't have minded some rain. But the only stormy thing in sight was Charlie Nimbus's face. Thunderstorms do seem kind of unlikely, said Wanda. Charlie Nimbus didn't give any sign that he'd heard her. My hair was a little frizzier than usual, he said. Except for that, my camera test was perfect. I wore my lucky tie and everything. Mr. Nimbus? There's more to being a weather forecaster than just looking good on camera, DA said. Charlie stared at her blankly. There is? I held up our class weather chart, which I had brought along on our field trip. You have to keep track of the clouds, temperature, wind direction, and lots of other stuff, I said. Shouldn't you know that already, Mr. Nimbus? Phoebe added. I mean, you're a professional meteorologist, right? Charlie gave a sheepish smile. I dropped out of meteorology class when I had the chance to star in a toothpaste commercial, he said, showing 2 rows of sparkling white teeth. I guess I still have a few things to learn about weather, huh? Ms. Frizzle's face lit up like a 100-watt bulb. You're in luck, Mr. Nimbus, she said. Back on the bus, everyone. We're going to take chances. Get atmospheric. And learn about the weather. Now. I stared longingly at the Channel 6 news station. We were so close. The frizz just herded us back onto the bus and got behind the wheel. Charlie Nimbus sat next to Liz on the seat behind Ms. Frizzle. The first thing he did was check his reflection in the rearview mirror. My hair is frizzing up even more, he said. I'm sure we're going to have thunderstorms. My hair always does this when it's going to rain. Had I heard right? Charlie Nimbus was predicting weather based on his hair? That didn't sound like a very scientific approach to me. Besides, the sky was totally clear. But do you know what? Ms. Frizzle actually agreed with him. Thunder and lightning certainly are in the air, Mr. Nimbus, she said. And we have front row seats for the pre-storm show. Arnold gulped. I don't like the sound of that. He wasn't the only one. Every single kid on the Magic School bus looked nervous. But did that stop the frizz? No way. Miss Frizzle hit the gas, and the Magic School bus screeched out of the parking lot. The next thing we knew, the front of the bus tilted up. It grew airplane wings and shot into the air over the Channel 6 news station. So much for a normal field trip, said Tim. We're off. Chapter 2. The Magic School bus zoomed through the air. Everything around us started to look bigger. Then I realized we were the ones changing. The bus with us inside was getting tinier by the second. Before long, we were so small that particles of dust looked like huge boulders floating around us. I never saw anything like this in my meteorology class, said Charlie. What's happening? Don't worry, Mr. Nimbus. You'll get used to the Frizz's field trips, Wanda told him. We did. Speak for yourself, Arnold said. Couldn't we just watch one of Mr. Nimbus's toothpaste commercials and forget about thunder and lightning? Charlie flashed those sparkling white teeth again. But not everyone noticed. Phoebe was fanning herself, and DA seemed to be staring off into space. I wasn't surprised to see a book about weather and her science notebook on her lap. DA loves science. Ms. Frizzle? DA said. I have a case tie-in. You just told us thunder and lightning are in the air. Well, I sure don't see them. When it comes to the weather, you don't always have to see it to believe it, the Frizz told her. Thunderstorms start with something you can't see, even though it's in the air all around us. Charlie turned to show us his curly locks of hair. What about my frizzing hair? That's something you can see, he insisted. Huh? I said. Between Charlie and Ms. Frizzle, I was totally confused. Thunderstorms don't start with hair, Mr. Nimbus. They start with water vapor. Water vapor is in the air, Ms. Frizzle explained. It's something you can feel, but you can't see. So, water vapor is what makes the air feel so sticky, said DA. While she wrote some information in her notebook, Charlie watched over her shoulder. When is water a gas? By Tim. Water exists in the air as an invisible gas called water vapor. The sun's rays heat liquid water in rivers, lakes, and oceans. When liquid water gets hot enough, it evaporates. That means it turns into water vapor that rises and blends into the air. That's what's making my hair frizz up, he asked. Absolutely, Ms. Frizzle told him. She gave a tug to her own hair, which was even frizzier than usual. Trust me, that's very frizzy. Water vapor in the air makes for stickier, sweatier, frizzier conditions. I see what you mean, said Phoebe. As she lifted her leg, it pulled away from the vinyl bus seat with a wet sucking sound. Humid air is the reason we're in this sticky situation. H is not just moist air. It's humidity. By Carlos. We refer to the amount of water vapor in the air as humidity. The more water vapor there is, the more humid the air is. The air was starting to feel more humid. And hotter. But I still didn't understand what that had to do with a thunderstorm. Class, we're very lucky. We have all the ingredients for an electric storm. It's a simple recipe, said the Frizz. Start with humid air and add lots of heat from the sun. Charlie turned his face into the bright rays that shone through the bus windows. Phew! He wiped his forehead. The heat from the sun reminds me of the big lights they used when they filmed my commercial. I'm starting to sweat. He wasn't the only one. We were all sweating like crazy. That's the power of the sun, Ms. Frizzle explained. The sun is making the air hotter, too. And when air heats up, it gets lighter and rises. So, you're saying hot air is on the move, Carlos said with a laugh. From DA's notebook, the sun gives us energy. Energy is what makes things move or change. The sun provides our planet with tremendous amounts of energy. The sun's heat and light make Earth and the air around it heat up. And when the sun isn't out, things cool down. These changes cause many different kinds of weather. From the desk of Ms. Frizzle, atoms on the rise. Atoms are like tiny building blocks that are far too small to see. Everything we know is made up of atoms, including air. Heat makes atoms move faster.